I want to talk about the idea of longevity escape velocity, which basically just means when we reach the rate of advancements in anti aging or longevity that outpace our rate of aging. So basically, if every 10 years we figure out how to reverse your aging by 15 years, you theoretically could live forever if you don't have an accident. So the interesting thing is, the people who are watching this video might be some of the first generation to actually see the human species achieve longevity escape velocity, which means that every second that you spend sort of hurting your longevity, reducing your lifespan, doing things like smoking, drinking alcohol, etc., destructive habits, you could actually be risking seeing that. On the other hand, doing healthy things like exercising, eating well, and so on could actually improve your odds of reaching that point. And there are many implications of reaching this point. I'll address some of the positive ones first. So, one big positive one is if you were going to live to be 1,000 years old and you retired, say, at 65 with enough in the bank to fund your life indefinitely, right? So, that would be, say, a 4% drawdown rate. So, you just need 25 times whatever your yearly expenses would be. And that should be anti inflationary as well, since it would be invested in something like an index fund. So if you retire at 65, that gives you over 900 years to live off of that money or more, right? Potentially infinitely. So you could build wealth forever based on that. The other thing is it means we would no longer have to lose our loved ones. People could theoretically become great, 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 great grandparents, which is interesting. Your family could be hundreds or thousands of people large. Um, there are some negatives, though, that are often brought up, so I want to address the criticism as well. One of the concerns is what will we do when nobody dies? So there are two facets to this. One is people are worried that all the old ideas will stick around and that people need to die for new ideas to flourish. Now, I think this is partially true. However, it's more of an old fashioned animalistic kind of point of view. So it's true that animals have to die to evolve because that's how their DNA works. But Karl Popper famously said that human beings are the only animal whose ideas can die in their place. So that means as long as we are open philosophically and we can change our ideas, we don't need to physically die. Our ideas can die in our place. And I do believe that our education and overall philosophy and reasoning will improve with time and advancements. Like we're already way ahead of where we were 300 years ago. So there's no reason to believe that we won't make exponential bounds in the future as well. The other part of this concern is, oh, if nobody dies, won't we run out of resources? Now, this is also kind of outdated thinking based on, Malthusian principles, where Malthus basically, historically, he made a graph showing linear food supply with linear food supply growth against exponential population growth and how we would run out of food. Now, he was wrong, of course. We didn't run out of food, and our population grew even more than he expected. The reality is, people aren't the enemy or the scarcity. It's actually ideas and knowledge. And people are the solution because people create ideas and knowledge. So the more people we have alive, actually, the better, because we can solve problems better. In the mid 1900s, there was this scare that this material used to make color TVs was running out, and that the last color TVs would be shipped, and then everyone would have to go back to black and white TV. Now, that never came to pass because not only did they figure out ways to extract more of this resource and find more of it, they also figured out an alternative resource to make color TVs. The point being, we cannot predict innovation and scientific growth, so we don't know what we'll run out of. Most likely, we'll just find alternatives. We'll find another way. We can mine asteroids. We can expand to other planets, like Elon Musk is trying to do, right? Make us a multiplanetary civilization. So there are many things that are basically limitless. We have more than enough space. We have more than enough air, water, food, and so on. We're improving at logistics. We're improving at all sorts of things to solve these issues. The other thing is ultimately, a lot of people think of resources and wealth as kind of zero sum, But the reality is the world has a lot more wealth today than it did 50 years ago. And so there might be a future where there's even more inequality than we see today. But that might not be a bad thing because the poorest people 50 years from now might live the same way millionaires today get to live, right? In terms of quality of life, quality of healthcare, and so on. And this happens because we create more overall wealth, we improve technology, and the baseline level of living improves. If you think about today, the poorest people in first world countries still live relatively good lives compared to, say, middle class people in a third world country. So now imagine if our idea of a first world country was elevated, especially as we figure out automation and robots can do a lot more of the work that people would normally do. It's very likely that people's basic needs would be outsourced in some way. The other thing is it would make more and more sense as we get close to this longevity escape velocity, for more people to be engaged in creative and scientific endeavors. Now, I consider science creative, but that's another video. Um, the idea being that the more people can do engineering and design and create new ideas, the better off we will be as a civilization. And it's a lot easier to master these subjects when you have 1,000 years rather than, say, a 4 year college degree or a career of only 50 years. So, really, I think the future holds a lot of potential. And I'm curious to know what you think. Are you looking forward to something like longevity escape velocity, or do you believe that death has to come for us all and that we shouldn't try to fight it? Personally, I think aging is a kind of disease. We've even categorized it into 7 kinds of damage, and we're working on therapies to reverse all of these kinds of damage. So, very soon, we might be able to cure things like dementia, Alzheimer's, cancers of various kinds, and all these sorts of degenerative diseases. Recently, I read there was some very promising breakthrough in ALS, which is a devastating disease. It actually has affected a family member of mine. And this breakthrough basically not only halted the degeneration of the nerve endings, but actually regrew them in a significant way. So the side effect of getting towards longevity escape velocity is that we also improve the quality of life of people who are alive. We figured out solutions to diseases that no one should have to endure, things like Alzheimer's. Um, Everyone should be able to live healthily. I think if people want to die, they should be allowed to die, but they should have healthy lives until they do die. Then that should be a choice of theirs. So, yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about today.